Hi everyone, and welcome back to another hit of Rugby Nation. Sean Maloney back in the chair alongside me, Iain Payten, and a special guest this afternoon. How good's this? Brendan McKibbin, all the way back from London Irish, straight into headquarters. Kibbo, great to have you with us.
Yeah, it's good to be back. I didn't think I'd be sitting in the middle, but I'm a bit, we'll
we
see
like
how
to
this goes.
bookend things in here. That's why you're in the middle. Look, tell us, why are you back in Australia? Where have you been? It seems like just yesterday you were running around with a sky blue with a Tars on your back.
Yeah, it did. So 2015, left here, and I joined London Irish. I was there for 4 seasons and embedded myself over there, but you're right, it's gone quick. And I'm now back at Rugby Australia as a referee coach and working with some development guys as well. So coaching referees, sitting on the other side of the fence. I thought I refereed a lot of games whilst I was playing, so I'm just getting paid to do it.
I would have thought that you were coaching referees all the way through your career.
I'd like to think
Assisting.
so. Yeah, probably not much of an influence, but I'd like to think I was.
So London Irish, you were. I'd like to think that you led the charge to that particular club because London Australia, because next year there are 1,000 blokes heading that way.
Yeah, I know it's not a great thing for Australian rugby that all the guys are leaving, but it's good if they are leaving. They're coming to a club that I invested in, that I loved over there. So it'd be good to see them having a run around in a green shirt.
So Les Kiss is the connecting factor there, right? He's head coach or head of rugby? Or?
Yeah, he's head coach. Aussie Les Kiss. He's been away for a while, but he's such an Aussie. He's still got the twang.
Can't lose that. You can't lose that if you're Kissy. Look, great to have you with us, Kibbo. We have obviously got the games from the last weekend in the rearview mirror. Fellas, let's look ahead to what's to come this weekend, because our final regular season game of Super Rugby, and it is the Brumbies, who are third definitely, so they finished top of the Aussie Conference. Can potentially... This is going to give me a headache trying to go through all this. Did you bring some Panadol?
Yeah, I did.
We're going to need
I
some.
tried to boil it down for you.
Okay. It's still confusing.
Let's just start out with there are 12 teams still mathematically
for the
alive
8.
For the 8.
Right.
The top 4 is settled.
Okay.
The Brumbies have won the conference.
With that win against the Tars last week.
They can finish second if the Jaguars lose to the Sunwolves.
But that's in Buenos Aires.
So that's not happening. Let's just say that the Brumbies are going to finish
I'm not thinking
third.
the Sunwolves are particularly keen on aiming up in their final regular season game of the year.
It's a telling one, though, because there's a world of difference between second and third, isn't there, Kibbo? Like, third, you have to travel for your semi-final.
Yeah, and it's always good to play at home, in front of your home crowd, and that it gives you that extra edge. You've probably seen the results throughout the year, and those home teams.
And history tells us in Super Rugby, it generally comes from 1 or 2. Right?
Yes.
So I think the Crusaders are the only team that's ever won it from outside.
I think they are. The Brumbies went close, I think, from memory in 2013. It might have been 2012 under Jake White. One of those 2 years ended up playing against the Chiefs in the decider. But they did, and they narrowly went down in that game. But they came from deep. They came from low down, I'm pretty sure, to launch that charge. I think they did. They popped the Stormers over in Newlands. And
this is the thing. This is the thing with Super Rugby, right? And Kibbo could probably tell us more. You have to cross oceans in this competition, and to do it in a week, and particularly in finals, that's way too tough.
I think it's happened recently where, the Sharks even then came. The guys are going over to play over in South Africa, and you might win, and then you've got to come back and go home for maybe a night, and then straight to New Zealand and play. It's tough to play away from home and that constant travelling.
So the Brumbies. They're going to hope that either the Sunwolves beat the Jags, or we're getting way down the line here that and this is more likely, that when the Jaguars host a final in Buenos Aires, an African team goes and plays them in the quarters and knocks them off.
Might be a chance,
because that would then leave the Brumbies
as the top of the,
and they might get another one. So that's looking down the road a little bit. They have to win a couple.
They're good though, the Jags. Playing some good footy. 10 wins this year. Crusaders with 11. That gives you a bit of an idea. It's the bonus points and those few draws as well for the Jaguars that make the difference. Brumbies. Let's start with them, Kibbo. Good last week against the Waratahs. Bounced out to that nice early lead. Can they maintain the rage this weekend? Build on that momentum. They've got the Reds down in Canberra.
Yeah, I think they have to. I mean, there's no lack of motivation there. These guys, they're going to be playing finals footy. The Reds, I went to their game last week, and they seem to be struggling a little bit. They looked a little bit out of sorts, but there's nothing like another derby there. I think the Brumbies easily.
In years gone by, you might have thought, yeah, this is the game where the Reds go down and ruin the party, etc., etc. But the Brumbies are like, they're bulletproof at the moment. We'll probably, touch wood. But they came up to Sydney, had to beat the Waratahs away from home. The Waratahs had everything to play for, and they rolled them, steamrolled them, and look so consistent across all facets of their game. Defence is underrated. They barely went to the maul. The back line looks terrific. They've just got everything rolling for them at the moment.
Who's impressing you from the Brumbies at the moment, Kibbo, in their charge towards the finals?
I think just their core leadership. Like, you got Joe Power going well, and Christian, he's running the show. He's calling the shots. Their forward pack's aiming up, at set piece time. But it just shows you they don't have to go to that set piece. They don't have to go to their dominant set piece to win games. They got off to a fast start, and I think those core guys around the leadership are driving the team well.
Liliafano's been outstanding this year. Even in their losses, his defence and he's just been gritty and gutsy and just guides them so nice.
One of those great teams that you try and pick one guy out and then you go, oh, but then there's that, and then there's that. Like Rory Arnold. I reckon he's in some of the form of his life. Tom Cusack gets no raps. He's doing a hell of a job at number 7, front row, belting everyone. So, let's not get too overhyped, pardon me, but looking really, really good across the park.
So they're locked in for third. They could potentially finish second. Unlikely. Most likely will finish third. The Rebels, coming off a tough loss last week. Tough is probably being a little kind. Went down by 66 against the Sailors over there in Christchurch. Still chasing their maiden Super Rugby final appearance. They can still do it, Kibbo, with a win this weekend and some other results. Actually, they just need a win this weekend. They just need a win against the Chiefs. Can they? What happens when you go down by 66? Have you ever gone down by 66 in Super? I think not.
No, I haven't. But, when you come off the back of a loss like that, I had a couple of hefty losses over in the UK, and, it creates a little bit of doubt. And doubt kills. And, I know they had loads of changes or whatever, but they didn't function well and they didn't front up. An opportunity for guys coming in, new guys coming in and getting lots of minutes, and they didn't front up.
I'd love to be proven wrong, but I think that's a season killer, that one. I mean, you go back to 2002, 96-19, the Waratahs. They had to play in a semi-final the week after it got done 51-10 by the Brums. I mean, it's just because I know that they had some guys rested and stuff, but there's a level of a defeat where, as Kibbo says, it goes beyond just the guys missing. They were doing things so uncharacteristic. Missed tackles. The shape was all, defensive shape had just gone missing. Just everything went wrong. And to turn around and try and salvage that in a week, I never played the game. I'm sure that it's possible, but I tip that it's very, very difficult.
They're up against Crusaders team last week. Ryan Crotty played his 150th. Every one of the cards possible was stacked against them. Surely there's the old bounce back. Surely there'll be hope against the Chiefs this week. And the Chiefs haven't been at their best this season.
And that's the thing, you back yourself as a rugby player and as a squad, as a team, that, you go out there and you can win every game. And I think the Rebels will have that. They'll go back. They're back at home, and I think they'll think they can beat the Chiefs. But everything went right for the Crusaders there. They had even the bounce of the ball, the crossfield kicks, the slides, and everything. It just stuck. So
they look pretty sharp. The Crusaders,
decent.
Rightful favourites,
and the Chiefs beat them the week before. So
in Suva,
yeah. The one thing that you hope is that Genia Cooper coming back in at 9-10 really settles that down, and they just get back to that rolling, dominant sort of front foot game that they're so good at. Let's hope they do. I mean, that would be the first finals appearance for the Rebels, and they've been very good at times this season. They are a very good football team, but they have this habit of starting strong and then fading away.
I'm cheering the Rebs down there against the Chiefs this weekend. The Waratahs now, somehow, the calculators say the Tars still alive despite not posting as many wins as they would have wanted this year. Kibbo, they've gone close on so many occasions. That wasn't the case the weekend gone. But, okay, so if they win, so they can still make the finals as well.
Yeah.
If they win with a bonus point away against the Highlanders in Dunedin, and then the Rebels need to beat the Chiefs.
Yeah, well, the only part you missed there is it's in Invercargill.
Oh, it's not even Dunedin.
No. So it's next stop is Mawson's Hut. So throw in Gale wins and sub-zero temperatures. Kibbo, did you play down there?
I
in that
did,
game?
yeah, Rugby Park.
I covered that. The kickoff, I'm pretty sure, went up in the air and then went
And
backwards.
yeah.
Is it so? Are we talking afternoon game, night game? Like what's
Night
happening?
game.
Night game.
Yeah.
Back in Invercargill.
Yeah.
Is it the first game back there in? Didn't they have to? They knocked it down and redid it. When was the last time there was a game in Invercargill?
Can't remember.
Well, I think there was a bit of a redo there. It's going to be a tough place to win, though.
It doesn't matter. The wind doesn't change and the temperature doesn't change, and the style of rugby that the Highlanders will play won't change. They sweated all over you blokes that night, didn't they? And they just waited for the mistakes.
There's still a chance. You tell me there's a chance for the Tars.
Yeah, Lloyd Christmas style.
Telling me there's a chance.
Yeah, you can throw all they need this after that, but they still need the bonus point win over the Highlanders in Invercargill. Very, very difficult. And they are resting 5 of their best players. So the 5 best players, probably you'd say. Tough assignment. Kib, I'd be keen to get your thoughts on having watched some from afar, some from home, the Waratahs this year. What are the little bits that have gone missing for them?
Yeah, look, I think the Waratahs, when we went on and won that season, we were 4-4, and they were at that stage. So there would have been some belief there that it can be done, but there just wasn't any consistency, was there? They'd come out, they'd be firing some weeks, and they'd be firing for 70% of the match, and that just wasn't there. And why was it there? I'm not so sure.
Yeah, tough one coming up for the Tars, for Tars fans.
The season's not over yet, but and you don't want to do post-mortems, given that they could squeak into the eighth spot. But reminds me a lot of that 2012 season where they ended up going 4-12. I think it's not that bad, but similar sort of feel about it. There were a lot of close losses.
Was that
year.
Fan Forum year? No, that was 2011.
That was 2010.
2010. Yeah, a lot of the Cheetahs.
Yeah, Fan Forum. Remember the Fan Forum?
Yeah.
They made the semis that year. This is how crazy it got.
I remember the booing game against the Cheetahs at the SFS in the wet. Wasn't great.
Well, the thing is, I remember after that we played the Chiefs at home. We actually won, and it was all about the kicking and whatnot. And we actually scored 3 out of our 4 tries from kicks. It was just the types of kicking and everything. So look, it must have worked because we won the next game.
Yeah. Don't get me started.
Too late
on
for
that.
Fan Forums in 2019 though.
But the 2012 season I thought was similar in that there were a lot of those close losses. So you can get caught in that kind of, we're on the right track. We've just got to work a little bit harder. We just got to tinker with this, get over the line. And in the end, the season tally tells a tale. 4-12 that year. It's 9-6 I think this year, and it's. Whether you just missed those moments or you were on the wrong path the whole time, it's hard to tell. It'll be a really interesting review for them at the end of the year.
Further north, Queensland Jags, a good win, a good comeback win against the Blues at the weekend. That match headlined by the performances of Scott Higginbotham and Samu Karevi. Higgins becoming the first ever Super Rugby forward to score 40 tries. Nice little tick for Higgins. Love seeing him do his thing. And Samu, I mean, what you give just to say, Samu, hang around a little longer. Don't leave. Aussie
Should we
shores.
crowdfund some sort of keep Samu?
Do you think that'll work?
I'd give 10
what
bucks. I'd give
hashtag
10
would
bucks.
you
Kibbo
keep
give
Karevi?
1,000. He's getting paid.
I'd be on huge bucks as a referee's
not
coach,
so sure.
but he's killing it at the moment.
He is. Look, me, not so much. Samu Karevi, like any time he touches the ball, you're thinking, what's going to happen? What's this guy going to do? He's always getting over the advantage line, and now he's starting to, really look for offloads and stuff. So that ball's never really stopped when he's tackled. And you saw a couple of little touches that he had that were very silky.
Leadership ability too. I mean, he's come on in that captaincy, in and out of the captaincy role for a little bit when I think Seymour was boss, and then he got injured and Samu got a few cracks at it. So he's a really well-rounded human playing some good footy.
Form of his life. Yeah, I think it might have been Kafe who said on the call last week that they should look to give him leadership, some sort of leadership role in the Wallabies because it clearly suits him, and guys.
He's well liked.
I can tell you from a tone point of view, he talks to the referees pretty nicely because I was listening to him on Friday night.
Yeah.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, right.
He gets a tick.
What sort of what would be a way he would approach softly?
No, not softly, but he's coming in at the right times and stuff, which is key. He's not rubbing out the rest of the wrong way.
That's a good little side. That's a good little side issue. I'd be really keen to get your thoughts, Kib, on who does it well. And let's say Michael Hooper, he's our national captain. I don't know whether you could tell us if he's a good communicator or not, because it often occurs to me, something dodgy's happened. There's Hoops he's knackered because he's just putting in a hell of a shift. And
I think it's
you need one of these clean number 10s who doesn't do any work to be the guy.
It's picking your moments for sure, and I think Hoops has been an exceptional captain for a number of years now. And I think he does it really, really well. He's he speaks to the refs very clearly. He picks the right moments when to go in, and Hoops
I would have a winger as my captain. Like just a guy just
never
hangs,
be able
but
to
a handsome one, like a really like a captivating one. You know what I mean? He just kind of saunters in and just casually asks.
Excuse me, sir.
He
does this too on the way.
He's certainly going to grab the ref's attention.
Yes.
What are you doing in here?
I'm very impressed with your performance tonight, sir. But just one point of order.
That's how they all speak, I'm pretty sure, wingers. Righto, so the Reds have their final game of the weekend against the Brumbies. Rebels have Chiefs. Tars have the Highlanders in Invercargill. Wonder if they'll pick up some bluff oysters on the way through over there, like post.
Well, they want to make sure it's not shooting season. I remember it was almost duck hunting season down there last time, and I was down there covering it, and Rupert Guinness, formerly of the Herald, was covering it that night. He went for a run in the morning, running along, ran out onto some dirt track, and he was stopped by a guy in his camo gear. Said, "Mate, you don't want to go any further down there. My hunting dogs are down there.
Right.
They might take a fancy to your legs, so you might want to just hop back in."
Root would need his road bike to get away from that.
Yeah.
Kind of setup. I mean, if he had his road bike there, you'd back him, but not just in the.
So it's an interesting place in Invercargill, Kibbo. It sort of reminds you of one of those, like if they were going to set a horror movie from the 50s,
right,
where you enter a town that's kind of half inhabited and there's just weird stuff happening.
Give me an Australian equivalent. Like, what would be an Australian town that's the equivalent of Invercargill?
I don't know. I've lost my touch. I haven't been around.
Somewhere in Tasmania.
I was going to say, what's the bottom
where are
town
chainsaws?
on Tasmania?
Where are the chainsaws constantly going?
I'm going to guess Tassie. Okay, so that's Super Rugby wrapped up. That's what's to come this weekend. We need to cover off the Junior Wallabies. Hallelujah, it's finally happened. The Australian under-20s team are in the pointy end of the tournament, the World Rugby 20s tournament. They will play semi-final footy for the first time since 2011. It's been that long.
It has.
And so many of us have been screaming out for additional funding, for additional resources, for additional planning to go into this, and it's bearing fruit this year.
Fantastic performance against Ireland. Ireland, I believe, Kibbo, you might be able to tell us, given you played for London Irish, but they are, I think they're the Six Nations champions in that age group.
Yeah, they are. And Ireland very dominant, England dominant, Aussie dominant in that pool. It's a tough pool for them to get out of.
Yeah.
And they've been playing, they've had 2 great games so far.
And these, especially these Northern Hemisphere teams, are so
they play all the
funded
time.
in 20s. And I commentated the 20s tournament last year, and some of the guys in there are as big as the test squad. These kids are enormous, and they can ball. So that's a huge result. Nick Frost, back from the Crusaders, drops straight back into that Aussie 20s team, and he's been big as well.
Huge, literally and figuratively, he's a very big man. And that was an interesting one because he didn't play in that Oceania tournament. The Aussie guys won. He got picked in the squad, and so 1 or 2 guys left. There's a bit of hubbub about that, but showed what he's worth, right? How many times you seen a second rower grab the ball off a kickoff and then out sprint? I mean, other than
little baby giraffe, it was very good to see him in open spaces.
But the thing that you can point to out of this, let's hope they go on and play in the final and win the bloody thing. But they changed the system last year where they stopped picking a team sort of in about January, and they'd get together and because they played the Super 20s. Remember, they were playing the Super 20s here, and then they'd pick a team at the end of that. And Simon Cron tells a story that he basically had about 2 weeks training with the guys, and then they went away. This year they picked out of the under-19s from last year's under-19s championship, picked a massive squad. Those guys have been training for 6 or 7, months. What are we now? Yeah, something like that. Reducing squads all the way along. And they're not a star-studded team. There aren't a lot of Super Rugby guys in that team, but it shows the benefit of time spent together, preparing together, getting to know each other. And so that's a big thumbs up for that change.
No, it's and who knows what those results now might create down the track as well. These guys get a taste of winning against top flight teams at that age, and then maybe George Gregan always speaks about that. Says they went through and beat the All Blacks as kids, and then 3 or 4 years later, it was not as daunting to take them on.
You stop a culture of losing at every level you play, right?
Yeah.
So
It's infectious winning.
Yeah.
Fair play.
Okay, so the Aussie Women's Sevens side have their final series to play, their sixth and final this weekend in Biarritz on the beach in France, and it's a decent team.
How are you not over there?
Oh, tell me about it. How am I not there? I would never have made the ground, I don't think, Kibbo. I would have been stuck in the surf the whole time. But it is a strong team that Johnny Manenti has taken across for the Aussie Women's Sevens side. They look pretty much assured of Olympic qualification.
Yeah.
I think they are assured. They've
so
ticked that off.
Yeah, no, they've got to stay above France in this tournament, but all that it basically means is if they progress to the finals, they're through. So
Just to the
and
quarters.
boil it down, just to the quarters, and boil it down. If they win their first 2 games against Spain and
They're
Ireland,
qualified.
they're through. So that would be big achievement. It hasn't been the best year for the girls. I think they'd say they haven't won a tournament.
They were trending
yet.
in the right direction, though, in that tournament in Langford, where
Yeah.
they finished in the final against New Zealand, going down in that
Yeah.
one. Could have easily gone the other way, that match too.
And
So
I saw Johnny Manenti the other day, and he was talking about how they'd made a big effort to get those girls to get their swagger back, just to get that sort of confidence. Like, you know what? Let's not stress about losing this game, that game. These guys can't beat us. They can't touch us when we're playing our best footy, and that's what they look like.
Yeah.
So that's all to play out this weekend, along with the Super Rugby. Iain Payten, thank you. Brendan McKibbin, nice little debut, I've got to say.
Thanks for having me.
Sparkling debut. Great to have you back on Aussie shores and in the mix here on Rugby Nation. Until next week, Sean Maloney saying goodbye, and we'll catch you on the other side.